This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Football a la Turca. This is our transfer special. My name is Kaan Bayazit and I'm joined right now by Umut and Naderi, who I woke up really early in the morning. Umut, are you having your coffee right now?
Yeah, I'm having my coffee right now and happy to join.
So if you hear Umut sounding a bit groggy in the beginning here, that's just because I put him out of bed really early. So yeah, what we're gonna do today is, because we didn't really have much time for it over the past couple of weeks to really delve into some of the transfers that happened in January in the Super League. That's basically what we're gonna be doing now, because obviously we have plenty to talk about with the weekly matches, so we figured we'd do a little special episode on the transfers. So I'm going to do this in the order that the clubs finished last season, because that's the easiest way, as I got all of this data from Transfermarkt. And I did notice that they missed at least one transfer. But let's get started with last season's champions, Galatasaray. So they got, of course, Henry Onyekuru on a loan from Monaco, and Marcelo Saracchi on a loan from Leipzig, and then Jesse Sekidika from Eskişehir on a free transfer. Out, we see Ryan Babel, Emre Mor, Emre Tajdemir, Steven Nzonzi, and Batu Hansen. That's just a youth player that went out. So Steven Nzonzi, of course, his loan was terminated, as we know. He went back to Roma, but they immediately loaned him out again. Umut, do you remember who they loaned him to?
Well, I haven't seen it, but if they learn it, that's because that they don't think he's ready to play, because he has been missing so many games for Galatasaray and not in a shape to have just go into the Roma and play the first 11.
But Roma wanted to really get rid of him in the summer. That's why they gave Galatasaray a really good deal on the transfer, I think. They loaned him to France, but for the life of me, I can't really remember where exactly he went. Emre Tajdemir, I thought that was pretty curious. He went to Kayserispor on a loan. They're paying almost 100,000 euros in a loan fee. I guess that's basically his wage, I assume.
Yeah, I think he's a potential, even though he has gone through a lot of injuries during his time in Bursaspor, and right now he got his opportunities in Galatasaray in the start of the season. Mm-hmm. But as we got Saracchi, now he doesn't have any chance, even though we also registered Martin Lines in, so yeah, it's hard for him to find a chance in Galatasaray. So it's a bit his smart move in order to get time to play.
Yeah, and he must be in his mid-20s now, right? Like 25 or so, I imagine. Emre Mor, of course, his stint at Galatasaray wasn't a massive success. Galatasaray had loaned him from Celta Vigo, and Galatasaray in turn loaned him now to Olympiacos for 410k. That's basically half of Emre's wages. So, basically Olympiacos are just paying half of Emre's wages for the half of the season. Galatasaray obviously have an option to buy him for 8 million. I think it's rather clear that they won't be exercising that. So yeah, Emre Mor off to Olympiacos. I'm not sure if he's already played. It's going to be interesting to see how he does there, but I have never really been, since the beginning of the show, I don't think I've been very high on Emre Mor's chances to still make something out of his career, just because it seems that he doesn't really have his priorities straight. But who knows, he's still young. He's 22, I think, so 23, 22. He can still make something out of it, but how do you see those chances, Umut?
I'm not too,
optimistic.
optimistic on Emre Mor because no, I think he doesn't know how football works on the field. Like he is just all by himself, all selfish, like trying to do all by himself and like dribble past some players and give a pass, but he doesn't care where does that pass goes, like forward, backward, or no. Uh, you have to like contribute to the team and the tactics and play accordingly.
Yeah.
But what he plays is worse than what did Yunus Akgün played for Galatasaray, because you could see Yunus Akgün playing and scoring, even assisting for Galatasaray in the league matches or the cup games during last season. And this season, because of Emre Mor, Yunus Akgün couldn't find any chance in Galatasaray, and above it, Emre Mor didn't even contribute to the scoreline ever. Right?
Yeah, but we saw, the other day Galatasaray were playing in the Turkish Cup against Alanyaspor, of course, and we see Jimmy Durmaz playing 90 minutes, I believe. Yunus Akgün still isn't getting any opportunities. I find that very curious because we've been hearing about Yunus Akgün for a while. He's doing really well in the under-19 league, if I'm not mistaken. Galatasaray are top of the table there. And still Yunus Akgün isn't getting an opportunity, and he's come at that age where he needs to start picking up some minutes, or he needs to get loaned out so he can play professional football, against real men.
There was his transfer thus just 1 year earlier. He was about to go to Anderlecht by fee. I didn't remember if it's a loan or a buy.
There was a rumor of 2.5 million, I believe.
Yeah. It would be a great opportunity for him.
I don't know about that. Anderlecht right now aren't in the best shape. They're playing a lot of young players, but they're having a little bit of a chaotic couple of years, I have to say. And then, of course, the other guy that went out, we've spoken plenty about his performance in the last couple of months on the podcast. Ryan Babel, he's been loaned out to Ajax. They're covering basically half of his wages. Basically his full wages. They're paying 1.55 million euros to Galatasaray for the half season, which basically covers Ryan Babel's wages. As for the guys that came in, of course, Henry Onyekuru, we've spoken about him in the past. Unfortunately, he came down with malaria, so he wasn't able to immediately play, but he played the other day in the Cup. He played, I think, 10 minutes in the league last week, and he got an assist in the Cup yesterday, or was it the day before? I thought he was one of the best players on the field. He had a couple of good crosses for Belhanda, of all people. And Onyekuru, didn't look to me like the malaria really affected him that badly. He's a great player, of course, and it's a good get for Galatasaray. Finally, they get some speed on the wing, which they were lacking with Ryan Babel, of course. And with Marcelo Saracchi, we've already seen him in action. We've already seen that he's also able to contribute in that regard as the left back with speed going forward, but also defensively doing a decent job. But he's, of course, currently out for 2 or 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. What have been your thoughts on the guy from Eskişehirspor, Jesse Sedika? Sekidika, yeah.
Well, we can just call him Jesse.
Yeah, we'll call him that indeed.
Yeah, Jesse. I watched his a few games in Eskişehirspor. League One is something different to Super League. It's more physical based
and very competitive. It's not a bad league at all.
I remember what Vedat Muric has said about League One and compared it with Super League. It says you cannot, turn in. They don't turn you back in League One and give a chance to shoot. But in Super League, they do give you a chance to turn, but you cannot find the place to shoot,
Opening,
opening, they just stand you off, close you down too quickly, and this is the battle he has to give in Super League. He is fast, he's agile, he kind of resembles me about player like Bruma or Rodriguez right now in Fenerbahçe. He's, he has to contribute to the team mentally more than physically right now, because how Onyekuru does it, I really admire him. He knows where to go, he knows where to run, and he knows where to stand when the crosses or the passes are coming from.
But how old is Onyekuru now? He must be like 22, 23?
Yeah. Yeah, but he knows it,
Yeah, but he's been playing professional football for, I don't know, 3-4 years when he was at Eupen, and then he went to Anderlecht on a loan for a year. My point is he's been playing professional football from a very young age, and that's the point I was trying to make with Yunus Agun too. Like, it's very important that at 18, 19, you're not playing against other 18, 19-year-olds. If you're talented and you have a potential of being a first player for Galatasaray, Beşiktaş, Fenerbahçe, Trabzonspor, at 18, 19, you need to be playing football against 25-year-olds, against 30-year-olds, against 34-year-olds. I recently wrote a piece on just that, where, in Holland, you have this system of Ajax and PSV. They have their youth teams in the second division, and all of their big talents come up through those teams because they play in the second division against real men. They don't play against other kids.
We have to go through a project like that as well in Turkish Süper Lig. But I don't know how the teams will afford any second team where they just, are bankrupt with even one team.
But I mean, do you think it's that much more expensive than operating an under-19 team? In principle, okay, you're adding a couple of...
under-19 team, as said, but now sometimes they might just send their, overaged players to that team as well. Is it possible or eligible?
Yeah, I mean, for PSV and Ajax, they have a couple of experienced guys in that team. They're like, I can't name anyone on the top of my head right now, but they have like a couple of guys to bring some experience to those youngsters. But generally, they're playing with most of their youth players, and then, like, let's say they play with 7 youth players and like 3 or 4 guys that have some experience in the top flight or something. I think you can still get like relatively cheap players for that role, or maybe like, let's say, of course, Selçuk İnan may be a bad example now, but let's say Selçuk İnan still had a decent level, and you would still think he could play Birinci League football or even ikinci
He can play.
Maybe he can, yeah. And he could, with his experience, go and play in the second division, maybe be the captain of the team and take those young guys under his wing and still be part of the community of Galatasaray and still be doing an essential thing. And it's not, he could go now into coaching, for example, but what he would be doing then is actually coaching on the pitch. I could see a guy like Selçuk, a guy like, for example, in the past, Ibrahim Toraman, Ibrahim Üzülmez, for Fenerbahçe, a guy like Semih Şentürk, instead of, the dying days of their careers, they go into some Anatolian team and kind of wither away. Yeah, but guys like that, I think, could really be still of big value to their clubs. And I think there's one thing that in Turkey we do so poorly is say goodbye to our legends. I can't think of many big players that got a good send-off. Like, the last one I can think of is Şifo Mehmet. I think he got a really nice send-off at Beşiktaş, but Sergen kind of left through the back door. Alex left through the back door. Snyder left through the back, and of course, Snyder and Alex, those are foreigners. But the big Turkish players, like a I don't know, Suat Kaya, did he ever get?
Suat Kaya did. I remember his jubilee.
Yeah. Well, those types of guys, I think they can still be of value in that sense. Anyway, we spent a lot about it, but Jesse, you've seen him a couple of times for Galatasaray now. What was your impression at Galatasaray?
Yeah, he's quite ambitious to dribble past all the opponents, but he's agile and has talent to do so. But he has to, rely on his stamina much more, because that kind of ambition drains him too soon than he expects him. He is expected. He has to contribute his stamina throughout the game more logically. And to do this, I think experience will do enough. Some games, like 10 games, and we'll see him bringing good moves to the team. Uh, and I looked it up, and he's just one age older than Henry Onyekuru.
One
But yeah,
age.
yeah,
1 year.
1 year, yeah. And also, looking at that, he has played 3 years, 2 years for Eskişehir. Possibly less experienced than Henry Onyekuru. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But I think he has a spark, and he'll get a fire eventually.
Your first impression, do you think he's a guy that could really make it at Galatasaray, or is he more like a guy, okay, he's a typical Anadolu speedster, maybe, somebody who could do really well for a mid-table side in the Super League, but you're not quite sure yet if he can attain the highest level for a top team?
Well, currently he's not a starter, and I don't think he'll be right now, but as a great sub, like if Galatasaray is ahead and he just gets subbed in, and he'll be a lethal threat for the counter-attacks when the opponents are trying to get a goal from us. And he'll be that guy to threat the opposition's, big gaps through the defense.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on then to Başakşehir here, who haven't gotten any player in this transfer window. Only player in is Joseph Atama, who returned from loan from Çaykur Rizespor, but he immediately got loaned out again to Fatih Karagümrük. Tunay Torun, who had been left out of the squad for the past 6 months, he joined Rizespor on a free transfer. Muhammed Şengezer, who they signed at the beginning of the season from Bursaspor as a reserve goalkeeper, he went out on loan to Adana Demirspor. Milos Jojic, he was loaned out to Wolfsberger, the team they faced in the Europa League, and he's not the only one, because Miguel Vieira, he also got loaned out to Wolfsberger. I found that quite curious that the team they faced in the Europa League just got 2 players on loan from them. I wonder if that maybe happened during or after the match, the board members getting talking, and maybe something sparked from there. Another one that caught my eye was Kerim Frey. He's been loaned out to FC Emmen. Saw him in action the other week when Olshan was making his debut for Feyenoord.
Yeah, we watched it live, yeah?
Yeah, and I mentioned to you, because you were watching too, and I said, hey, have you noticed that Kerim Frey is actually playing for the opposition?
Yeah.
And you were like, what?
Yeah, he was quite invisible, but I liked how Olshan performed there,
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Kerem, I liked him too. He had a couple of moments, but he's always kind of been that player that I think he just had so much more potential what he achieved. I think at Beşiktaş he never really got the full potential out of him. We had a couple of good performances from him against Feyenoord, for example. He had that really good assist against Galatasaray where Gökhan Töre scored, but in general, he had his moments, but he never really fully achieved what was expected. And then at Başakşehir, for a while there, it looked like he was gonna be a starter there, or at least a very frequent sub. But he was loaned out, I think, to Israel last season, to Maccabi Haifa or so. And then, of course, now he's being loaned out to FCM. It looks like Başakşehir just wants to offload him. I think he was one of Abdullah Avcı's transfers. He really wanted him there. And then finally, of course, Arda Turan, his loan was terminated and he returned to Barcelona. I think we saw some pictures.
Quite odd.
Yeah, we saw some pictures of him in Barcelona training over the week, but I don't know if
the new manager will give him a chance.
I don't know if he's included in their squad, actually. I don't know if he's registered. So I was reading something the other day that he might actually go out on loan still to a Romanian side. I guess the window hasn't shut there yet. I think the new Steaua Bucharest, but they're not called Steaua Bucharest anymore. They're called like FSCB or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he might. That's what I read, that he might actually get loaned out there. And then we have another loan. Onur Güney, he was loaned to What is this? Katalkaspor. Never heard of that team. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. And Beşiktaş brought in 2 players. Aydin Hasic from Dinamo Zagreb, they had to pay a 180,000 training fee, so to speak, because he came out of their youth academy, so they had to pay a fee for that, but other than that, he was a free transfer. Supposedly a really big talent, Bosnian youth international. Beşiktaş instantly went and loaned him out to Umraniyespor because he would have counted as their 14th foreigner on their registry, but they also brought in Kevin Prince Boateng, which completely caught me off guard, and I think a lot of people off guard. And when the news started coming out, Gianluca Di Marzio had reported it, and I was like, man, that's because Di Marzio, not Di Marzio himself, but really his website, they tend to post a lot of clickbait. They know how crazy Turks are. They know how many of us are active on the internet and constantly looking for transfer news. And I've noticed over the last couple of years that they really shown a pattern of linking Turkish clubs to players just to feed clicks, feed traffic to their website. And so my first inclination was, yeah, no way, because Beşiktaş are limited in what they can spend. But of course, loaning out Oğuzhan Özyakup freed up some budget. Loaning out Orkan Çınar, actually he was released and he joined Ankaragücü on a free transfer. Erdem Secki was loaned out to Umraniyespor. Muhayyer Oktay was loaned out to Giresun, and Hasic, of course, also loaned out to Umraniye. So some wages of the bill, and Beşiktaş managed to sign Kevin Prince Boateng. They are paying 325,000 euros for the player himself as a wage. Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you think Orkan didn't turn out well?
Well, I can only speak of what I've heard, but he was, for example, loaned out to Adana Demirspor, and supposedly he was really lazy, not willing to put in the work. Not heard a lot of good things from him. From Adana Demirspor, and I think if you can't be bothered to give it 100%, I think when a club like Beşiktaş, Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe have a younger player, okay, Orkan's like 23 now already, but still in Turkey that could still be considered young. I think as a player, what is important, if you get the opportunity, because you have to see it as an opportunity that you get loaned out, you have to grab that chance. You have to go out and you have to prove yourself so that when you come back, the club will look at you in a different light. If you come back and you flopped wherever you were sent, you didn't play a lot, or you just, your loan gets terminated early, which happens a lot, unfortunately, which happened with Orkan too. I think that also kind of has an impact on how your parent club looks at you. And I think that's kind of what happened with Orkan here. Plus, I think in general, I like him technically. He's a good player, has really good set pieces, is good on the ball and all that, has decent vision, but he's just a little bit slow, I feel. It reminds me a little bit of Arda without the superior talent. Like Arda was never really quick.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that, but I think he just lacks a little bit of eccentric quality to make it at a top club. But we've seen him at Gaziantepspor before, and he was really good there. I could definitely see him be good at Ankaragücü if he's committed. And that's going to be the big question point. What did you think of the Kevin Prince Boateng transfer? For me, that's one of the biggest surprises this window, and probably one of the biggest transfers alongside Henye Onyekuru and I'm just trying to think. Ndiaye, of course, for Trabzonspor, and I think maybe Boateng. Those three. Oh, and Robert Mak to Konyaspor is definitely one that jumped out to me too. But I think those four transfers are the ones that, in terms of name value, jump out the most. What do you think of Kevin Prince Boateng? Do you think he's going to contribute to Beşiktaş? Do you think he's going to add something they lack right now?
Yeah, you can't be you never be sure, because it's just how they see us. Like if they see us like Qatar, like holiday lunch.
Yeah.
You won't see anybody contributing, but I think he wants to contribute. He wants to find some time to build his old self. I know he's old, but he can still do some contribution to Beşiktaş, even though it's too late for him. But I think he has the kind of spark, and we'll see on the field.
Yeah, he's of course a physical specimen. He is in great condition. The main issue with him is that he's injury prone, despite being in great physical condition. And he's very much a journeyman. He's had 11 clubs or so. He played for of course, Schalke, Borussia Dortmund, Hertha Berlin, Las Palmas, even Barcelona for 6 months last season, which was kind of the big transfer that everyone was like, what? And it's funny because Barcelona were kind of looking at that profile of a player again this window, where they kind of needed somebody to come in to replace Luis Suarez, who was out injured for another month or so. And yeah, that was kind of the role that he was filling there last season. And I think he only made 3 La Liga appearances, and he made a couple of Copa del Rey appearances and stuff like that.
What would you think about a player that has too much journey on his career, like how you said about Boateng, played for too many clubs in his career? Do you think it's like a player who cannot hold in a club?
Yeah, I was actually wondering that myself. Because with Boateng, I've never really heard any big stories of him having massive attitude issues, apart from in the beginning of his career. Of course, you had the whole thing where he chose to play for Ghana instead of Germany because I think he was playing for the under-19 team in Germany, and they sent him home because he was partying or something. After that he got so pissed and he chose Ghana instead. But and of course, and there was a whole thing when he injured Michael Ballack, and he got in a big fight with his own brother who was playing for the Mannschaft at the time. And I think he injured Ballack before 2012 or 2010 or something for one of the big tournaments. So he had a falling out with his brother over that, but that's all been made up since. But I've never really heard of him being a problem player later in his career. Even in Milan, his first stint at Milan was really successful. Of course, he was one of their best players in 2010, won the Scudetto in 2011, I want to say. But yeah, he's had so many clubs, and usually when you see that, you think, well, that's a difficult player. It's difficult for anyone to work with him. I kind of got the impression with Boateng that he's genuinely a journeyman, that he just wants to have been everywhere. He's been in England with Tottenham, he's been in Germany, obviously he was born there, he's been in Spain, he's been in Italy, he's been in all the big 4 leagues. He's been there. He's only missing France, I guess, to complete the top 5 for him. And of course we know this video of him as well from the past, where he was singing Ibrahim Tatlis's music in his car. I think that went viral on Turkish Twitter 2 years ago.
Everybody who just transfers does that. I seen.
But he did that 2 years ago, though. That's a 2-year-old video, I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. He apparently has quite a few Turkish friends. He speaks some Turkish, some basic Turkish too. I don't know. I think he's a very useful, versatile player. He can play pretty much any offensive position. He can bail you out as a striker if necessary. It's obviously not his best position, but he can play on the wings. He can play behind the striker, and he can play as a normal central midfielder. So any offensive position, I think it's going to be useful to have a player like that in the squad. Obviously, like you said, he's 32, he's going on 33. Not the youngest anymore, but if he can stay fit, I think it could be a useful player for Besiktas. And they've loaned him for, they have 6 months now, and then they have an option to extend his loan. And all they have to do is pay his full wage next season, which would be 1.7 million. This season, they're only paying 325,000 of his wage. I'm curious to see how it goes with Kevin Prince Boateng. I think he's a kind of player that's going to embrace Turkey, much like Lukas Podolski did, because Lukas Podolski had that affinity for Turkey, has a lot of Turkish friends back in Köln, and I think it's going to be similar with Boateng. The question is, of course, how successful is he going to be? It's easy to embrace Turkey if everyone's showering you with love and adoration because you're doing well, but if things aren't going so well, obviously that's not going to happen, and then it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move over to our next club then. finishing in 4th position last season was Trabzonspor, of course. And we've already spent some time on it. Badu Ndiaye joining them from Stoke City. They're paying a 176k loan fee. I don't know how much of their wage they're actually covering. They also signed Guilherme from SC Alvarenga, but obviously he's coming from Malatyaspor, where he spent the last 1.5 season and he was very successful there. And they also brought in Manuel da Costa on a free transfer from Ittihad. We of course remember Manuel da Costa from his time at Sivasspor and his brief time at Başakşehir here. But despite having a brief time at Başakşehir here, they sold him at the end of the season for 4.5 million, so he had a decent season there. And then they also signed Manuel from Cruzeiro. I remember this guy's name because he was linked to Beşiktaş a couple of years ago. And then they also got Bilal Basacikoglu on a free transfer. He had terminated his contract with Kayserispor a couple of weeks ago. He is one of those players alongside Emmanuel Adebayor and I believe also Umut Bulut, who had terminated their deals at Kayserispor. And he signed a very light deal at Trabzonspor. So I think the main takeaway here is 2 new central defenders for Trabzonspor. They also let go of Ivanildo Fernandes, who they had loaned in from Sporting. He's gone actually to Çaykur Rizespor on loan now. They've let go a couple of young players on loan. Firatcan Uzum, Talha Resut, who joined 1877 Alemdar. Firatcan had joined Umraniyespor. That's a name you'll be hearing a couple of times, by the way. Umraniyespor loaned in quite a few Super League talents, including this one, and then of course 2 players from Beşiktaş. Ogenye Oronazi is one of the big departures. He went to join Denizlispor. And of course Donis Avdijash, Jakub's favorite player, he went to Scotland and joined Heart of Midlothian. I think for Trabzonspor, they mainly just strengthened their core, their defense. They were lacking some quality. We've been saying that. Offensively they are so impressive, but defensively they have had lesser games. So 2 central defenders, one of which proven commodity in Manuel da Costa. Of course, Manuel will have to wait and see. Guilherme was really good for Malatyaspor. I think that's a great get for them, just for squad depth, having a backup for Sosa at the 10. And then, of course, Badu Ndiaye immediately came into the team, has played everything so far. He's been impressive, and we know, of course, he's a proven commodity at Galatasaray and at Osmanlıspor. So, a very good window for Trabzonspor, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I think they're pretty much the winner of this window. Obviously, Kasımpaşa and Ankaragücü brought in a lot of players, but I think Trabzonspor didn't get a lot of players, but they got a big quality injection and might see them through to the end of the season and maybe, who knows, some trophies.
I hope so.
Anyway, let's move on to Malatyaspor then, who finished in 5th position last season. They're not doing so well lately. They've been losing a lot, of course. And in terms of transfers, they brought in Kubilay Yilmaz from Spartak Trnava as a striker. They got him in on a free transfer, but they've immediately loaned him out to Boluspor in the 2nd division. Young striker, maybe that's something for the future. Then they also brought in Remy Wolte from OGC Nice on an undisclosed fee. Also Yusuf Ndayishimiye, I'm just going to call him Yusuf, from Aigle Noir FC for an undisclosed fee. And this one jumped out to me. Karim Hafez on a loan from Wadi Degla in Egypt, of course, on loan. But as we know, he's been at Kasımpaşa for the last couple of years, and he's a player I kind of like. So I'm surprised that his loan got cut short at Kasımpaşa and is going to Malatyaspor now. Malatya, for me, their wingbacks are kind of where they lack quality, so this is a good get for them, in my opinion. And then they also got an interesting signing from Rostov in Russia, Vidar Kjartansson. He's a loan and he's a striker. 29-year-old striker. And then, of course, they got Umut Bulut on a free transfer after he had terminated his deal at Kayserispor. So 2 new strikers in for Malatyaspor. 3, in fact, but of course, Kubilay was loaned out. And it makes sense, of course, when you see then in the out bracket where Adis Jahovic was sold to Antalyaspor for 700,000 euros. And that for me is a bit of a questionable move from Malatyaspor. Yes, they have a decent amount of points already. They should be safe from relegation, but yeah, with all these transfers, some of those relegation sides have done during January, and the points they may be picking up. And I mean, if you look at who was in the relegation zone midway through last season, and then you see like Ankaragücü where they finished last season, Çaykur Rizespor where they finished last season, those were all teams that were in the relegation zone, and they ended in like 12th, 13th, and some, I think even Rize may have ended in the top 10. So I wouldn't just sell off your most important goal scorer to a relegation candidate like that. Of course, we know now Adis Jahovic suffered an injury and he will be out for a couple of weeks, but 700,000 euros is a good fee for a 33-year-old player, but he's a proven player in the Super League. He scores a lot of goals. What do you think of replacing him with Umut Bulut and with Kjartansson from Rostov?
Yeah, like it's quite risky move for the league, rest of the league, and yeah, for Umut Bulut, you know how quality he is, like quality-wise, he's. I'm not saying he is top quality, but I know, and they know how he will perform when he's transferred. So they transfer him to be sure, like he will be a alternative choice for the striker position, and he even can play in the flanks as well for defensive contribution in just in front of the line. And for that other player, I don't know him, so I haven't seen him perform. But I think the scouts has watched him. No.
Yeah, hopefully, but I mean, he comes from Russia, so you think, well, he must have something to him, I would imagine. But yeah, how old is Umut now? He must be like 36, going on 37 or something.
Yeah. But he looks after himself really well, you know.
Yeah, of course, but still, I mean, you're trading in Adis Jahovic, who, he's 33, I guess, but he's still kind of in his prime, or at the tail end of his prime, and then you're bringing in Umut, who, despite the fact that he's old, still doing well enough over the last couple of years for Kayserispor, but still, I mean, it's a weird trade-off in my opinion, but, I guess if you can get 700,000 euros for a 32-plus-year-old player, makes sense. Let's move on to Fenerbahce. They had a very quiet winter mercato as they only brought in Simon Fallet from Eintracht Frankfurt. They brought him in rather early in the window, but they only got his license out, I think, like the day before the deadline or so. They got him on loan from Eintracht Frankfurt in Deutschland, and the rumor here is that they basically only signed him so that Sivasspor couldn't sign him, because supposedly Sivasspor were really close to getting him. And of course, Sivasspor in first position in the league, Fenerbahce fighting for the title. They probably wanted to block potentially key move for Sivasspor, although. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of question that if that's the truth. They also sent out Zanka on loan. I think they're bringing in a very similar quality player to Zanka with Simon Fallet. Little bit, weird that they bring in one guy for another one. That I don't think Fallet is going to necessarily be a big quality injection for them. Just as how Zanka was okay, but not great. I don't know really what went wrong there with Zanka though. Like, he wasn't amazing, but it kind of seems like Ersun just soured on him.
Yeah, could be.
Then in terms of outward moves, Okan Turp was loaned out to Bandırmaspor. Barış Alıcı was loaned out to Westerlo in Belgium. Barış Alıcı was loaned out to Westerlo in Belgium. There's also where Berke Özer is playing right now. And if you're wondering why, what's the tie with Fenerbahce and Westerlo right now? Well, in fact, one of the former board members of Fenerbahce is now at Westerlo and is one.
There's also a Galatasaray player in Westerlo as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Recep Gül.
Okay. I'm not sure they had Emenike on trial in the beginning of the season. I don't know if he ended up signing permanently. But yeah, there's definitely a Fenerbahce link there with Westerlo, a Turkish link in general. Of course, we see that as well with Fortuna Sittard in Holland, where Besiktas just signed a cooperation deal with. They also have that Turkish link because they have a Turkish CEO or something. And then Abdullah Yiğiter was loaned out to Istanbulspor. Zanka was loaned out to Fortuna Düsseldorf in Germany. Yusuf Mert Tunç was let go, and he joined Varzim, team I never heard of.
They are in Portugal.
Okay. Abdul Jebrail Akbulut, he joined Kumurspor on loan. Victor Moses' loan was terminated. He returned to Chelsea and then immediately got loaned out to Inter Milan. So that's curious. So for me, really, Fenerbahce coming out of the winter mercato weaker than they were before, I would dare say. They got in Simon Fallet kind of to replace Sanka. For me, it's kind of a, similar quality trade, but then they lost Victor Moses and didn't bring a replacement for him. So I'm not saying Victor Moses was a key player. He was good, but Victor Moses, he wasn't a star player for Fenerbahce. Let's not act like he was. He's a very good utility player. I think you can play him in multiple positions, but I don't necessarily think they'll miss him all that much. But still, Fenerbahce coming out of the winter mercato weaker, I would say. Would you agree with that, Umut?
Yeah, they should have filled the left back position quite a bit securely, like we did, because I've seen many people tweeting in Twitter about how Fenerbahce couldn't fill their left back for years, whereas Galatasaray just filled it in 6 months with a great choice of a player which we couldn't find any chance to play in Leipzig. So. We just got him, but Fenerbahce still relies on a former flank player, Nabil Dirar, there.
But of course, Fenerbahce have a limited budget. Galatasaray have a less. I mean, they also have a limited budget, but in terms of the TFF limit, Fenerbahce are more limited. But of course, you guys got Saracchi, I think, on a 1.5-year loan.
Yeah.
And
he's pretty. Yeah, they could also have a loan.
Yeah, they could have done that. They, of course, were going hardcore after Ricardo Rodriguez from AC Milan. They were really courting him and trying to bring him in, and they wanted to loan him, and then with a obligation to buy, I assume. But for some reason, I don't know if it was Milan who didn't go for it or if it was the player that didn't go for it, but he ended up signing with PSV instead. And PSV also just loaned him with an option to buy, as far as I know. So it's weird that Fenerbahce couldn't make that deal happen. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's move on to Antalyaspor then, who finished in 7th position last season. They, of course, brought in Adis Jahovic, and I think they definitely had one of the more flashy transfer windows. So Adis Jahovic from Malatya for 700,000, then Fedor Kudryashov from Sochi on a free transfer. I believe he was on loan at Başakşehir last season.
Yeah.
Then they got Ersan Gülüm, the former Beşiktaş and Adanaspor central defender. They got him on a free transfer from Western United in Australia. Ersan's still only 32. I was very surprised that after his stint in China that he didn't immediately come back to Turkey, but he went to play some A-League football in Australia. So I was very surprised that just a Turkish club didn't pick him up. So I'm curious to see how he'll do there. Faisal Sarı brought in on a free transfer from Kasımpaşa. Interesting for me, because why are Kasımpaşa letting Faisal Sarı go on a free to a team that they're competing with against relegation, essentially?
And also, Faisal was one of their captains, yeah?
Yeah, he was a starter. He was one of their main central defenders, and he was one of their most important players for the last couple of years. So it's a curious move. Then Lukas Podolski from Vissel Kobe on a free transfer, straight from Japan. Of course, former Galatasaray star Lukas Podolski, Germany star, Bayern München, Köln, big name, of course. Lukas Podolski is, I want to say, 34 years old now. Sinan Gümüş on loan from Genoa. I guess his stint in the Serie A didn't go as planned. Of course, former Galatasaray player Sinan Gümüş. And then Delvin Indinga on a free transfer from Sivasspor. So a very good window for Antalyaspor. But I think something that you'll notice, apart from maybe Trabzonspor, the clubs that really had a busy window are usually the clubs that didn't do their homework really well beforehand and are in trouble now. I think Antalyaspor are one of those sides, Kasımpaşa are one of those sides, obviously Ankaragücü, but Ankaragücü, they have some different circumstances because they had the transfer ban, so they couldn't really do their homework beforehand. But I don't know, I think it's kind of telling now. These look like a lot of expensive guys. A panic transfer policy, I would dare say. I mean, I can't imagine they're not paying Lukas Podolski less than $1 million. I think Ersan Gülüm, I'm not gonna say he's super expensive, but he's gonna cost a decent amount, I'd say. Kudryashov is definitely gonna cost them $500,000 or so. Adis Jahovic definitely on a big contract. Sinan Gümüş, I bet he's on a decent contract too. What do you think of Antalyaspor's window in the in column?
Well, they afforded so much, and I think that's also a little bit risky because changing the whole team shape in one window and rely on it, because this is your last exit before the in Turkish we say köprüden önce son çıkış. Mm-hmm. This is the last exit, and they try to do their best, but spending too much, I think, will be trouble in the future. Like how they did with these Nasri, Menez, and Eto'o situation. Yeah. They screwed the thing.
The harmony in the team.
Yeah, and they didn't even perform well.
Well, Eto'o did.
Yeah, Eto'o did, but Eto'o is a elegant player, but the others were just
Nasri
lazy.
was a big flop.
Flop.
And just for those of you who didn't understand that, basically what Umut is saying, this is their last chance to get off the freeway to the second division.
Yeah.
So on the out bracket here for Antalyaspor, Serdar Özkan has gone to Bursaspor in the second division. They're of course fighting for promotion there. Tarık Çamdal has joined Adana Demirspor on a free transfer, and a very interesting fact on that one is he's paying for the minimum wage. So I believe he's making a little bit over 2,000 lira. I don't know if it's per week or if it's per month.
That's even too much for him.
Yeah, but of course, he's got plenty of money in the bank right now.
Yeah, from his Galatasaray days.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it, Umut. I didn't want to rub salt in the wounds, but you said it. Harun Kavaklidere joined Menemenspor on loan. I always love to see that name. I just want Samet Aybaba to be their coach. Anyway, another curious one for me. I said it before with Veysel Sarı to Antalya. This one also completely baffles me. Diego Angelo on loan to Kayserispor. Like, they're giving their captain to a relegation rival. Is this Galatasaray sending Dani Nunkur to Beşiktaş? Is this sabotage?
Yes. You'll see him causing a penalty.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. If that happens, put money on it. When Kayserispor plays Antalyaspor, put money on it. Diego Angelo causing a penalty for Antalya to win it. Gelson Dalla was also his loan was terminated and he returned to Sporting. I don't know if he ended up going somewhere else. Konyaspor up next, and they brought in Guilherme, a different Guilherme from Jagiellona. I think that's a Slovakian team. And then they also brought in Slovakian international Robert Mak on a free transfer from Zenit St. Petersburg. He's a winger. Very good move, I think, for them. I'm curious to see how Robert Mak performs. That's pretty much it for Konyaspor. I said before, the teams that didn't do their homework in the summer have to scramble now in the winter. Konyaspor not doing really well in the league at the moment. I think they're not in immediate danger, but I could see them ending up in that relegation dogfight if Ankaragücü and Antalya and who else is down there, those teams start picking up some points. Like, the only team I kind of see dead in the water right now is Kayserispor, but the other ones, I think they're all still very much, in it. And Konyaspor maybe should have made a little bit more of an investment, a little bit more of a quality injection. I don't know if Robert Mack and Guilherme alone will be enough for them to lift up their game, Umut.
Yeah, I know. Aykut Kocaman, he also said in his press conference that we have to first initially fix our defensive problems rather than our attacking phase, because I think that's the main problem in Konyaspor, that they can, in the past a few years, Konyaspor were a team that weren't conceding easily, but right now they just not concede easily, they just can't score as well, missing so many chances and couldn't find a scoreline. I don't know. They are a team who were together for like a few years. So on. And this is really quite baffling me.
Yeah, and they even got Riyad Baij back, who was really good for them before they sold him to Udinese. And now that he's back, he can't really make a dent. It's weird that they're struggling so much offensively.
And you see Serkan Kırıntılı being the man of the match every single game, and that means the defense is useless. You can't have your goalkeeper, the hero, the star, every match. That means you have some problems in the defensive line and defensive shape of your team.
Yeah, they used to have that really good defender. What was his name? Jagovic or something? Or what was his name? The central defender, really good player, and they sold him, I think, to a Serie A team. I forget. Is it Jagovic?
It could be. Let me check.
Yeah. Anyway, in terms of outgoing transfers, they basically just did a bunch of loans. Younger players. Mujahid Can Akçay got loaned to Umraniyespor again. Ali Yashar got loaned to Altinordö. Kaan Özdemir got loaned to Bayrampaşa. Maksut Taş.
I found his name. Yeah. His name is Jagos Vukovic.
Vukovic, right? Yeah, Jagovic. You see where I'm coming from?
He first initially went to Olympiacos, then Hellas Verona.
Okay, yeah. I knew he ended up in Serie A, but I forgot that he made that pit stop in Olympiacos. So, Maksut Taşkıran, he went on loan to Vanspor. Yevhen Operasenko got released on a free, and he's joined Varskia. Savaş Polat joined Adanaspor on loan. I think he might be from the Fenerbahce Academy, Savaş Polat. Musa Aras, he joined Zamax on a free transfer, and I remember... Was it last season or the season before where he had a really hot run where he was scoring every week and he looked like such a big talent, Musa Aras, and to see him now leave through the back door, it's kind of weird for me because I really thought he had a big future ahead of himself. And then we have, of course, former captain Ali Chamdal. He was released. He is without a club right now. Ali Ayhan Cebeci also released without a club right now. Then let's move over to Alanyaspor. They didn't have a very busy winter mercato. They brought in Emircan Altintaş, a young promising player from Umraniyespor, for 750,000 euros. That's quite a lot of money. And then they also brought in Mustafa Pekdemek on a free transfer from Kasımpaşa. Curious that Kasımpaşa let him go on a free. It's not like he wasn't playing well for them. Very curious. And then they also brought in Cenk Günen on a free transfer. He had been without a club for 6 months.
You love him, don't you?
Sorry?
You love Cenk Günen.
Yeah, with all my heart. And then in terms of outgoing transfers, there's one that really jumps out to me. That's Haydar Yilmaz, who got loaned to Gaziantep. He, of course, was Alanyaspor's captain and goalkeeper for the past 2 seasons in the Super League. Of course, this season he lost his spot to Marafona. But very curious that he was loaned out to Gaziantep. Hasan Can Yalçıntekin joined Payaspor on loan. Alper Tursun joined Sakaryaspor on loan. Veysel Unal joined Giresunspor on loan. Sidik Çelik joined Yeşilyurt Belediye on loan. Yusuf Karagöz joined Batman Petrol on loan. That's a great name, by the way. You just have to change one letter and then it's Batman Patrol.
Yeah.
I could see foreigners have a good laugh with that. Imagine them ending up in the Super League. Emre Bekir joined Fethiye Spor on loan. Then we have Murat Sevimler joining Payaspor on loan, and Tayfur Bingöl joining Bursaspor on loan. So a lot of outgoing loans for Alanyaspor. Don't really think there's much to talk about here in terms of incoming moves. Cenk Gönen obviously is a transfer for the bench. Emircan, transfer for the future. And Mustafa Bektemek, a squad depth move. We saw him play midweek against Galatasaray in the Cup. Moving on to Kayserispor, the team that's currently in 18th position in the Super League. Last season they finished in 10th, so that's our next one. Their first one in, we already discussed it, Emre Tajdemir from Galatasaray. They also signed Christian Sapunaro on a free transfer from Denizlispor. Ozhan Çapar on a free transfer from Balıkesirspor. Mario Situm on a free transfer from Dinamo Zagreb. He's a winger, 27-year-old winger from Dinamo Zagreb. So Dinamo Zagreb are a team that produce good players. So I'm curious to see how he does there. And then Muris Misanovic, he joined on loan from Mlada Bolesov. And we already saw him score on the weekend, of course, against Galatasaray. So he had an instant impact for Kayserispor. Then Gustavo Campagnaro, he joined on an undisclosed free from Chapecoense. Diego Angelo on loan from Antalyaspor. Zoran Kvirzic from Rijeka on an undisclosed free. And Cenk Şahin on a free transfer. So lots of transfers for Kayserispor. Of course, they had to replace a lot of players that terminated their contracts. But yeah, not really a massive quality injection, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll. I think they'll be in the second division next season, unless someone like a Muris Mesanovic lights up and scores, like 8 or so goals. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is enough to keep their heads above water and keep them in the Super League. In terms of outgoing guys, Benoit Poulain was released, Attila Turan was released, Umut Bulut was released, he of course joined Malatyaspor, Emmanuel Adebayor was released, Shamil Chiras was released, Adrian was, his loan was terminated, he returned to FC Sion, and Bilal Basacik-Olo was also released, he joined Trabzonspor, of course. All these releases are basically players that terminated their contracts after not receiving their wages for more than 4 months. So lots of good players leaving on a free there. Bernard Mensah, I'm sure they're still paying him. They invested a lot of money in him in the beginning of the season, paid 3.8 million euros, I believe. So I guess they're trying to make sure that they pay him every month so that he doesn't leave on a free, because he was a big investment for them. I could see him join maybe Galatasaray or so in the summer on a fee. Then Çaykur Rizespor, they brought in a couple of under-the-radar moves with Albert Koç on a 122k fee from Menemenspor. I guess that's probably his training fee. Tunay Torun joined on a free from Başakşehir. That's a good signing, but he, of course, hasn't been playing much over the last year or so. He was really good at Kasımpaşa, so I hope for Rize that he'll do well for them. Andril Boryachuk was brought in on loan from Shakhtar Donetsk, set-piece specialist. And then, of course, Denis Hamash also brought in on loan from the other big Ukrainian club, Dynamo Kiev. He already scored, I believe, on his debut against, I want to say, Sivasspor 2 weeks ago. Mithat Pala joined on an undisclosed free from Pazarspor, and Ivanildo Fernandes joined on a loan from Sporting Lisbon. Of course, he was at Trabzonspor the previous 6 months. And I think then the biggest move they've gotten so far, Milan Škoda from Slavia Prague on a free transfer, and he, of course, as we know, has 3 goals in 3 matches already, and that's something they were really missing. They were missing a striker up front, really good get for them. And in terms of departures here, we have Mithat Pala getting loaned out straight away to Pazarspor. Neil De Pauw left after just 6 months, and he joined Atromitos Aten on a free transfer. Çınar Torhan joined Ergene Velimese on loan. Yusuf Acer joined Büyükşehir Belediye Erzurumspor on loan. Sinan Yazıcı joined Kazanspor on loan. Or is that Kozan? Then Dimitrios Chatsias joined Cercle, not Club Brugge. So that's a joke, by the way. Cercle Brugge. They don't like it when you call them a club because, the big rivals are called Club Brugge, so they don't want to be called club. They prefer to be called if you call them like you never call them a football club, you call them a football organization or something like that. So just a running joke for the few people that will get that. Emirhan Topçu joined Çelik Zenija on loan. Çelik Zenija, a team in Bosnia, by the way. Mustafa El Kabir, he was released on a free transfer. Of course, he broke his leg in the beginning of the season, so unfortunate to see that he is getting basically dumped now. And then Baris Alic's loan was terminated and he returned to Fenerbahce. Yusuf Atama, same thing, loan terminated, returned to Başakşehir here. Biggest move, I think, for sure. Three really good moves with two guys from the top in Ukraine with Boryachuk and Hamash. And then, of course, Milan Škoda, who immediately made his impact felt. Kind of reminds me a little bit of their transfer window last winter, where they brought in lots of quality with Atif Sheishu and the likes, and they had an amazing second half of the season. I don't think Čeka Rizespor will be struggling, and they will easily be staying in the Super League this season. Do you agree?
Yeah. I think Ismail Kartal has the talent to do so because,
I hate the football he plays, though.
Yeah, but seeing his episode in the Uğur Karakulukçu's thing in YouTube, I respected his opinion on football. He tries to do something good. Like beforehand, I really think that I thought that he's just a anti-football guy. But seeing how he thinks about it and knowing that. I think it's really, optimistic as well. He tries to do against opposition's thinking.
Yeah, I think what the thing with him is I think he studied under Aykut Kocaman at least for a while, and I think he definitely has similar view. But I think where Aykut has had opportunities in the past, especially when I was coaching Fenerbahce, opportunities to play attractive football, he always reverts back to that anti-football. Whereas I think Ismail Kartal is just playing to the strengths of his team. He looks what's possible with his team. And was he? No, Okan was coach there last season. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. But I don't think they'll struggle at all. Let's move on to the current league leader, Sivasspor. They brought in Yasin Öztekin on a free transfer from Göztepe. They brought in Samba Kamara on a free transfer from the New England Revolution in the MLS. They brought in Petr Skuletic on loan from Montpellier. I remember seeing him in the Europa League 5 or so years ago when Beşiktaş were playing Partizan Belgrade, and I think we trashed them twice. But Skuletic. But he really impressed me.
He played in Super League.
Yeah, he played for Gençlerbirliği after that. But I remember thinking of him when I saw him then at Partizan. I was like, that's an interesting player. Maybe we should get him as a good second option off the bench. I really liked him. And then, of course, he went to Gençlerbirliği, did well there. And now he came from the league from Montpellier. Then they also signed a Clodemir from Braga. Clodemir, of course, I think most of us who follow European football will know him from his time at Copenhagen.
Yeah, but I watched him live when we played in Copenhagen.
He was one of their star players, one of their most important players. And of course, he had an unsuccessful stint with Club Brugge, but I think he could be a very good get for Sivasspor. I just wonder where he's going to fit in, though, because their central midfield with Hakan Arslan and with Fatih Aksoy kind of looks set. I wonder if he's maybe a replacement for Fatih, who is, of course, his loan ends at the end of the season. He will return to Beşiktaş. Curious to see where he fits in. In terms of outgoing transfers, Hugo Vieira joined Gil Vicente in Portugal on a free transfer. Abdul Razak Traore joined Bursaspor on a loan. So just two guys going out at Sivasspor and a couple of players coming in. Samba Kamara could be an interesting move. Skuletic definitely a good move, but they already have two big guys up front with Aruna Kone and Yatabaris. So another similar type of striker up there, and then Clodemir. Good window for Sivasspor. I don't think they needed all that much, but a couple of good players there.
Yeah.
Then let's see the guys who made the most transfers in this January transfer window. Ankara Gücü, they brought in 15 15 new players. I do have to say some of those were immediately loaned out again, so not all of them are for the first team. Milos Stojanovic from Sarajevo for 200,000 euros was brought in. Gelmin Rivas from Boston River was brought in on a free transfer. Ricardo Friedrich brought in on a free transfer from Bodo Glimt in Norway. Orkan Chinar on a free transfer from Besiktas. Daniel Lukasic on a loan from Legia Gdansk. Gerson Rodriguez on loan from Dynamo Kiev. Suat Kaya...
Yeah, what a name.
Yeah, he came in on an undisclosed fee from Bak Football Club, but he immediately was loaned out again to Bak. Saba Lobjanidze was brought in on an undisclosed fee from Randers FC. Konrad Michalak brought in from Akhmat Grozny on loan. Fatih Tultak brought in from Karabukspor undisclosed fee. Ahmed Sun brought in from Bak FK on an undisclosed fee. Muhammad Yasser Karabay brought in on a free transfer. Nunduka Ozokwo on a free transfer. Attila Turan free transfer from Kayserispor, and Enes Kubat on a free transfer. Guys that went out: Yalcin Ayhan joined Karagümrük. Suat Kaya loaned out. He wasn't loaned out to Bak. He was actually loaned out to
Nduka guy played for Mersin İdman Yurdu 5 years ago.
Yes, I remember his last name, Ozokwo.
Yeah, he was like a striker or a right winger. He's just too fast but not quite much end product on his feet. But he's he knows the league. You could say that.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Suat Kaya was loaned out to She Group Buja. Enes Kubat loaned to Bak FK. Furkan Beklevic loaned Turgut Luspor on loan. Alper Onal joined Bak FK on loan. Hassan Kaya joined Yirmirdert Erzincan on loan. Ahmed Sun joined Bak on loan. Ahmed Can Arek joined Can Kaya Football Club on loan. A lot of transfers as we expected. Ankaragücü lifting the ban the day before the deadline, so not a big surprise that they bring in a lot of players. Anyone that really stands out to you here that you think that will perform well for them?
Well, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, because you can say Orkan Çınar maybe if he finds any time he could show his talent at last, maybe. But on the other hand, I don't know.
Gerson Rodriguez, he immediately asserted himself on his debut. He was very lively, scored on a penalty, of course, on his debut this past weekend. Coming from Dynamo Kiev. I know his name, but I don't remember I want to say I know it from Benfica, but Gerson Rodriguez, I don't know.
Could it be? But also they have Attila Turan on the left back, but
yeah.
Didn't they already have a left back who's a Portuguese guy?
Thiago Pinto.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's quite odd to.
The thing with Ankaragücü is, though, that they just lifted that transfer ban, and just like last season, after 2 or 3 months, you're gonna get some players terminating their contracts probably because they're not getting paid again. That's kind of the sad thing I'm suspecting will happen for Ankaragücü. But I hope they stay up. I hope they stay in the Super League because they need the money from the Super League to stay alive, and it's a club that we don't want to lose. I think it's one of the biggest clubs in Turkey. In terms of fandom, it's the biggest club in Ankara. I personally I prefer Gençlerbirliği, but I like Gençlerbirliği, but that's due to my uncle and my dad kind of like them.
The rivals.
Yeah, but I mean, if you compare in terms of fandom, of course, Ankaragücü, you cannot deny Ankaragücü is the bigger club. The only reason I prefer Gençlerbirliği over Ankaragücü, by the way, is when I was like 12 years old or so, I attended a Gençlerbirliği Ankaragücü match. And the Ankaragücü fans, they were like, I don't know, throwing crap, and they injured this little girl, and she had to be carried off and brought to the hospital with the ambulance. So for me, I kind of left a little bit of a nasty taste towards the Ankaragücü fans, where they're a little bit too extreme to my liking.
They're a little bit hostile.
Yeah. to say the least. Let's move on to Kasımpaşa then. They also had a busy winter mercato. They brought in Tarkan Serbest on a 350k transfer from Austria Vienna. They brought in Dogucan Haspolat on 300k fee from Excelsior in Holland. They brought in Gerald Gohu on a free transfer from BJBSU. Berk Chetin on a free transfer from Mönchengladbach B. Zvonimir Sarlija on loan from Slaven Belupa. Mikael Tirpon from Lokeren on an undisclosed free. Florent Hader-Jonas on loan from Huddersfield. And Dieu merci Ndongola from KRC Genk on loan. Usama Haddadi on loan from El Etilfak. Thomas Breka on an undisclosed free from Lea Blonic. Anil Koch on an undisclosed free from Altinordu. And Yassin Meria on loan from Olympiacos. So 12 new names for Kasımpaşa. They're always good at getting these under the radar guys from Germany and from Austria. So I'm curious to see.
It's quite easy for them to convince players because they're located in Istanbul.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think they might be going down this season though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be. But of course they've done that in the past and they came back up. But nothing big here in terms of incoming moves. I want to say Ndongola was a good utility player at Genk. I don't think he's gonna set the world on fire now. But the things that jumped out to me, the biggest one that jumped out to me was Strahil Popov actually leaving on a free transfer, joining the Birinci League leaders Hatayspor. They're quite a ways in front of the competition in the second division, so they'll probably be up in the Super League next season. So Popov went there on a free. Özgür Çek joined Denizlispor on a free. Hasan Bilal joined Sakaryaspor on loan. Veysel Sarı, of course, joining Antalyaspor on a free. Mustafa Ethem Erboa joining 24 Erzincan on a loan. Uğurcan Yozgile joining Adanaspor on a free. Mustafa Pektemek joining Alanyaspor on a free. Siam Ben Youssef joining Denizlispor on an undisclosed free. And Karem Hafez, his loan was terminated. Obviously, he joined Malatyaspor. And also Abdul Khalili was released. So Abdul Khalili, Karim Hafez, Siam Ben Youssef, Mustafa Pektemek.
They're the
Veysel Sarı.
starters.
Yeah, Strahil Popov, like half their, 5 or so starters were released. Very weird what's going on at Kasımpaşa, and that's one of the reasons I think they're going to go down. Because, I don't know, this stuff seems to be hitting the fan there. Anyway, let's move on to Göztepe. They had a very quiet winter mercato, but they had one really big get this winter, was Kamil Wilczek from Brøndby on a 1.07 million transfer fee. He, of course, the top scorer in Denmark the past couple of years. 32-year-old Polish striker. I'm very curious to see how he will settle at Göztepe, and I hope that he'll continue that form from Denmark. It would be really cool if Göztepe can become a little bit more next season, maybe a title contender or at least contending for the European spots, which they are actually already could be doing right now because they're not that far off from the top 5.
Yeah.
And then they also got Zlatko Tripic on 405k from Viking Football Club. 2 transfers coming in. Out, not that much. Hakan Cin Emre joined Adanaspor on loan. Veli Çetin.
Fenerbahçe youngster a few years ago.
Yeah, he used to be a really big talent, but, we know how that goes. Veli Çetin joined Samsunspor on a free. Batuhan Kirdaroğlu joined Altinordu on loan. Yasin Öztekin joined Sivasspor on a free. Eren Derdiok joined Paktakor on a free. Samet Kaya joined Menemenspor. Babakar Sane, his loan was terminated, and he went back to Anderlecht. 2 good moves, maybe. I don't know the second player, but Wilczek is definitely something that intrigues me. But I think this just goes to show you, Göztepe are a team that did their homework in the summer. They have a good squad. Didn't have an amazing start to the season, but they have settled down. They're playing good football. Now they're in their new stadium. Mm-hmm. They're gonna have a good season, I think, and Wilczek is just one of those gets that's gonna be good for them for the next couple of years, hopefully. Yeah, I'm very curious to see Gustepe, especially next season, but also in the coming months to see how Wheelcheck settles. And just an example of a team that didn't have to do much in the winter because they're stable and they're doing well on the transfer market. They're doing their homework beforehand, like you should be doing. Then let's move over to Denizlispor. They brought in only a couple of people. Özgür Çek on a free from Kasim Pasha, of course. Also Siam Ben Youssef on undisclosed free from Kasim Pasha. Ogenye Onazi on a free transfer from Trabzonspor. And Muhammed Özkal on a free transfer from Büyükşehir Belediye Bodrumspor. So 3 guys from the Super League. Özgür Çek, I don't know how much he's going to be playing. With Siam Ben Youssef, he was decent at Kasim Pasha. Ogenye Onazi, of course, good player, played for Lazio Roma and such. Kind of lost his spot at Trabzonspor this season due to his injury and also due to the fact that they just have so much quality in midfield right now. But a great get for Denizlispor. Also a team that did their homework in the summer, didn't have much to worry about, just added a couple of quality players to their squad, and I think they will continue to have a fun season. Umut, anything to note on these transfers?
Well, no, not exactly. Maybe they can benefit from Onazi's energy on the midfield, and Özgür Çek, a player who performed decent but never, done the real thing in his career. He already has played for Fenerbahce some years ago, and Siam Ben Youssef, you can say that he's a great defender, played for Kasımpaşa for several years, and he done real well. I think they could have the benefit of the new transfers.
Yeah, for sure. And Ben Youssef also a threat on set pieces, on indirect set pieces. So he's a threat in the air for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of outgoing transfers, they had a couple, but nothing that really jumps out. Emre Salik joined Are 1970 Spor on loan. Burak Çelik joined Samsunspor on a free. Mehmet Akyüz joined Adana Demirspor on a free. Kadir Kürt joined Ahmet SK on loan. I thought that was pretty funny. Kadir Kürt, sorry, joining Ahmet.
Is it Kürt or Kürt?
It's Kürt, it's Wolf.
Okay.
But still, it's funny. Kerem Can Akyüz joining Bursaspor on a free transfer. And then Christian Sapunaro, as we said before, joining Kayserispor. Mehmet Akyüz going to Adana Demirspor. Adana Demirspor and Umraniyespor especially seem to be teams that have been getting quite a few players from the Super League this winter. Then moving over to our 1-2 last team, Gençlerbirliği, they didn't have a very busy winter because, again, a team that did pretty much their homework. They got Mike van Bijnen on a free transfer from Barcelona B, and then they got Christopher Nordfelder from Swansea on an undisclosed fee. Nordveld, I think his name is. Wrote that wrong. Then outgoing, just a couple of loans. Rami Can Karadaş joined Bayburt Idare on loan. Emre Gündoğdu joined Kahramanmaraş Spor.
Kahramanmaraş.
Yeah, Kahramanmaraş, sorry. Yeah, on loan. Furkan Temir joined Yamraspor on loan. Ülbeyt Aydiman joined Büyükşehir Bodrumspor on loan. Second time I see that name from that club. Yiğit Arslan joined Altındağ Belediye on a free, and Ibrahim Karadavut was released. What do you think of these two transfers against Gençlerbirliği? Got Mike van Bijnen and Christopher Nordveld.
Well, I haven't seen him play. I have no notion about how they'll see, but.
I thought you might have maybe seen Nordveld in action. I don't, Mike van Bijnen, of course.
I know that guy, but I haven't watched him, carefully. I have him figured in my head like a decent player, but the other one is coming from Barcelona B. It's quite interesting transfer to have, like an afraid transfer as well.
He's a Dutch left back, I think, or a right back.
You think Barcelona gave up on him?
Well, obviously he's 20 years old and they're letting him go. I think that's but still, if you went through your education, so to speak, at Barcelona, you're probably capable of something. So this is going to be an interesting one to watch for sure. And let's move on to our final team, and that's going to be Gaziantep Football Club. Of course, they brought in Haydar Yilmaz on loan from Alanyaspor, as we already mentioned. Alexandru Maxim on loan from VfB Mainz. He had an instant impact on the weekend, scoring twice.
You think he's one of the best debuts after Björn Flemings and Shinji Kagawa?
Oh yeah, it's probably up there. Yeah. Milan Škoda had a great debut too, of course.
Yeah.
He scored a brace on his debut. Definitely up there. But I mean, yeah, he was good, and he was also involved in another goal for sure. I think he got an assist, and I think one of the goals was like credited to someone else, but I think he pretty much did all the work there. And then they also signed Andres Souza from Belenenses in Portugal. So only 3 transfers coming in for Gaziantep. Again, a team did their homework. Kudos to them. Players going out here: Kerim Afce joining Altay on loan, Ali Ateş joining 1922 Konya on loan, Prince Segbelia joined Altay on an undisclosed free because there is only room for one Prince in the Super League. Had to make that joke. Seyfedin Chabi joined St Mirren in Scotland on loan. Yuri Loidigen was released on a free, and Musa Sow was released on a free. And Umut, if I would have told you 4 years ago that Dembaba would still be playing at the top of the Super League right now at age 34, contributing tremendously to what Başakşehir are doing. And honestly, like 6 months ago, I didn't think Dembaba could still achieve the level that he is achieving right now, but he is very important for Başakşehir. Yeah. I think they really missed him against Fenerbahce because he was suspended, of course. And he's not scoring a ton, but he's just very important up there. He's a very good target man for them. But if I would have told you 4 or 5 years ago, Musa Sow is not going to play a single minute in the Super League, despite being on the wage bill still, and he's going to get released in the winter, leave through the back door, and at just age 33. And Dembaba has been playing with shot knees for, 7-8 years of his career. At age 34, is still going to be a key player for one of the teams in the top 5 in the Super League. Would you believe me?
Well, it's to be honest, to say that they are, different kind of players, even though they look similar. But you can rely on the being a target man. Dembaba will do the best. You don't have to run him too much, but he will be inside the box and like the fox in the box, and he'll be looking out for goals and like some tap-ins. But I think Musa Sow haven't committed for like a play style of Dembaba.
He's a lot smaller. He's not. I don't think he's capable of doing.
Yeah, like he's much more of a dribbler or like
he relies more on his speed too, and I guess that maybe faded away a bit.
When you lose that speed on your late age, it quite destroys most of your physical battle, being on the field. I was thinking Burak Yilmaz would have suffered from that, but he's still in there playing, and I think he has adapted to a new style of play where he can save his energy and looking for goals inside the box rather than just running around on the pitch all the time. I think Musa Sow, as not finding any more time, any more chances in the league, says he failed to adapt that kind of a play style. He has to be on his late age.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't make a single minute for Gaziantep this season, but of course they have a good front line with Tuomasi and Kayode, and they just have a interesting front line, also with Gunay, not Gunay, Guven Varol. Right? Guven? Anyway, yeah, that's it for all the transfers in and out. I did not include some of the guys that returned on loan, that had their loans cut short and returned early. I only included them if they were loaned out again. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mentioned, I think, the names that jumped out to me earlier in the program. Umut, are there any transfers that really stand out to you? It's not been a very busy winter. Of course, Kasim Pasha, Antalya, and Ankaragücü had a busy winter mercato, but Beşiktaş quiet, relatively quiet. Galatasaray relatively quiet. Fenerbahce very quiet. Trabzonspor probably, having the best window out of those top teams. Başakşehir not a single move. Sivasspor a couple of moves. So, yeah, that top 6-7 teams. What jumps out to you there?
I think Galatasaray made the transfer really point to point. Like they didn't do too many transfers, but they did what they needed.
And early, really early.
Early, yeah. Also, one of the transfers was from inside. Martin Lines came in, registered, and Nagatomo and Luyendama were just removed from the list.
Were you surprised Nagatomo wasn't? Didn't join another club?
I think he will be because new season has been just only beginning in the Japanese region and China as well. But I don't know if he's gonna be going there because of the right now the threats about viral infections and stuff.
But it's in China.
Yeah,
Japan is an island.
yeah, I know, but that region is dangerous right now. So I don't know. Maybe he can go another club in Europe. He is the committed guy. He's always been a great work ethic on his life, and I think any team will benefit from him. But right now it's too late for Europe. So
still a couple of leagues, I guess, are still open. Maybe I don't know if Russia.
Russia, yeah. Maybe he can go to Russia. So and he can also earn us some money.
Maybe, yeah. Or at least save you the wages that you still otherwise have to pay him for 6 months. Anything else jumping out to you?
I don't know what will happen to Mbaya Jagne. Do you know what will happen to him?
He was removed from the squad at Club Brugge. Brugge offered to send him back to Galatasaray, but they refused to take him back. So then, we saw the statements from Cengiz last week, where he said, well, Brugge will have to pay us 50 million euros because they are destroying our capital by sending Diagne, dropping him from the squad. He's been in Senegal for the last couple of weeks. But to be fair to Brugge, they did just offer to send him back to Galatasaray, and Galatasaray refused. I mean, Galatasaray could have just taken him back in training at least, and let him train with the under-19s or something. I don't know. So I think they're partially responsible themselves. I don't think if this goes to FIFA that Galatasaray will win it. I think just at the end of the season.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just that penalty miss against PSG for him. He claimed that penalty and then he missed it. It was so important for them because that would have gotten them a point. Possibly.
It's not a thing that he didn't want to, score it. He just
but I think there must have been some issues off the pitch with him too. Philippe Clement isn't just going to drop a player just like that. He's a really good coach, so there must have been issues with him. I don't know if there were other big issues, at least nothing that came out, but there must have been some problems with him. But yeah, he's definitely not going to play for Brugge anymore. Brugge just got a striker from Victoria Pilsen, I think. They got a striker from the Czech league. They already replaced Diagne. And they definitely won't be signing him on a permanent.
All right.
Anyway, so what stands out to you? Which are the best moves in your opinion? Milan Škoda, for sure, for Rizespor. That one has to be at the top of your list, right?
Yeah, and also Kamil came to Göztepe.
Yeah, we'll check, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's a great, even could be a starter player, also an alternative to Cameron Jerome up front. He's a real good target man, and we saw it when he played for Göztepe. And I would say Badu Ndiaye and Guilherme are really good for Trabzonspor's run for the rest of the season. So also, what we can say, Henry Onyekuru is a lethal move for Galatasaray because we don't have any pacey wingers, and we now have two of them, which is really great. And we can rely on Henry Onyekuru because you know what he's capable of from the seasons he played for Galatasaray. But I'm really disappointed we couldn't get him permanently. You know, you really want to have a player like that.
I was just talking to my best friend the other day, and he's a big PSV fan, of course. And in the beginning of the season, we were talking about Bruma, and he was really happy with Bruma. But as the months have progressed, Bruma has kind of been a flop at PSV. And I literally told him this the other day. I said, you know what, instead of spending 15 million euros on Bruma, you should have spent 15 million euros on Henry Onyekuru. You would have gotten your money's worth there. I think Onyekuru, if you put him in the Dutch league, he might score 30 goals.
Yeah.
That's a little bit over the top maybe, but he'll score 20 plus, I think. And Bruma, it's like he said, Bruma's chaos, you know, kind of like Nkudu a little bit. Like sometimes he'll try stuff and it'll work, but 9 times out of 10 it won't. And you know, he's capable of doing brilliant things, but it just doesn't work consistently enough. And I'm surprised though by how much of a flop he's being labeled right now. And I think that has to do with the fact that PSV are just having a really bad season altogether. But yeah. Anyway, thank you, Umut, for your time. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you for calling. Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, if you like this show, let us know. Let us know what you think was the biggest, not necessarily the biggest, but what are some of your top moves in the league? Do you agree with some of the things we said? Do you not agree? Do you think Simon Fallet will be a world beater for Fenerbahce? Do you think, I don't know, there's so many of those moves. Do you think it's weird that all these relegation sides are exchanging players one another? Is Diego Angelo going to sabotage Kayserispor? Let us know what you think about all of the transfers. What do you think of Kevin Prince Boateng? Is he going to succeed at Besiktas? What do you think of Trabzonspor's new transfers? Did they essentially potentially win the league with this window? Because they had a really solid window, I think. Of course, still ways to go there. Anyway, let us know on Twitter at Footy Ala Turca. You can follow us there, or of course in the show notes you can find all the Twitter handles from Umut, myself, and all our other co-hosts as well. Yusuf just joined us on Twitter as well. By the way, he finally caved and made a Twitter account at Marufolo Jakub. I said Yusuf. It's Jakub, of course. So Jakub finally joined us on Twitter. Yusuf is still in my head from that player with the weird last name that I can't pronounce anymore. So that's that. Also, the 20th of February will be our 1-year anniversary. Our first episode aired on the 20th of February 2019. So stay tuned. We're definitely going to do a giveaway to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, and we'll announce that on our next episode, which will be next Tuesday, of course. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this episode, our transfer special of Football Ala Turca for the 2019-2020 Winter Mercato.